Race 2 for the Radical SR1 Cup at Oulton Park, and it is James Taylor that sits on pole position with the number 8 car of Richard Baxter alongside. Watch out for race 1 winner Oliver Barker. He starts at the tail end of the field and with another 10-second penalty, so he's got work to do again. Red lights are about to come on as they go out. It's a good start for the outside of the front row of the grid for the number 8 car of Richard Baxter. Poorly away again is the pole sitter James Taylor, so it looks as though it's going to be Rob Ellis that will slot himself through into second place. Third and fourth is being disputed by Kai Wheatley and Peter Brooks. As further down through the order, that is number 13, Ian MacDonald, fighting away with the number 4 car of Marko Nikšić. So everybody's safely away with Richard Baxter in the lead, Rob Ellis, Kai Wheatley, then the pole sitter James Taylor slotting himself through into 4th position. Further down through the order, here comes number 23. That's Sam Moores. He was due to have started 7th on the grid, and therefore he's had a poor start as well and has left himself with work to do. As by the look of things, Kai Wheatley looking to attack Rob Ellis round the outside. Is he going to gain the place? Yes, he does. So place gained for Kai Wheatley, place lost for Rob Ellis, and in danger now of losing 2. Yet because squeezing his way through up the inside goes the pole sitter James Taylor. So 2 places lost in the space of, what, a corner and a half there for Rob Ellis. Richard Baxter out front, and leading the charge, though, in the early stages of race number 2 at Oulton Park. Watch out for, from the tail end of the field, number 22, Oliver Barker threading his way through. Here comes Sam Moores trying to pick the pocket of Marko Nikšić, who's having none of it at this stage, whilst our race leader, Richard Baxter, coming under pressure from Kai Wheatley into the braking area for Hizzies, and as they turn their way through Hizzies, Richard Baxter, I think, missed the apex there, turning into the first right-handed element of it. Further down through the order, there is number 22 already, the background of the shot, Oliver Barker, fresh from his back row start in a 10-second penalty, is now up onto terms with the number 23 car of Sam Moores, who's still trying to attack the number 4 machine of Marko Nikšić. You can see all the cars squirming around in what are very damp conditions here at Oulton Park. Drivers like it either wet or dry. Well, it's sort of in between the two, and that's the worst kind of condition in reality. And almost caught out Richard Baxter there, the tail end of the car, losing adhesion as he came through Druids, and that's allowed Kai Wheatley to draw himself alongside, but on the outside line heading up towards Lodge. Can he get the job done? Yes, he does. He goes through and takes the lead of the race. So it's Kai Wheatley that leads. Richard Baxter with that squirrely moment as the tail end of the car almost came out of control. He just managed to gather it up, has dropped down into 2nd position. James Taylor, the pole sitter, sitting there in 3rd place as he goes through shot there, the number 2 car. And further down through the order, here's car number 22, Oliver Barker, now getting himself ahead of Marko Nikšić. So another place gain there for Oliver Barker, slowly working his way up through the order, as he did in race number 1, to ultimately come through and take victory. Well, he's got to catch this train of 4 cars to start with, which is being headed by his driver, who was his main rival in race number 1, number 2, which is James Taylor, now starting to try and pull a move if he can, to try and squeeze his way up into 2nd place at the expense of Richard Baxter. Couldn't do it there along Lakeside and up towards Island Bend. Can he do anything at Shell Oil's corner? Has a quick look, and no, cannot take the place either through Shell Oil's corner, so he tucks himself back behind the number 8 car once more. Both of them losing ground by the look of things to race leader Kai Wheatley now. So towards the braking area for what is Britain's, they work their way. Kai Wheatley leading the race. Richard Baxter still fending off the attentions of James Taylor, who has got Rob Ellis not that far away. But the margin is just starting to build a bit now between the race leader and this trio that sit behind. Up towards Hislops once more, Richard Baxter takes a slightly defensive run in towards the corner, protects that all-important inside line. Of course, in terms of protecting that inside line, he's also on the damper part of the circuit, which is very, very greasy still. There goes Rachel Brooks. She's having a battle at the moment with Paul Pearce, car number 42. They're down in the early teens and towards the tail end of the field, but still enjoying what is a good fight in these tricky conditions here in Cheshire. And now you can see the advantage really has been built up by Kai Wheatley. He has opened up the gap, and substantively so, from James Taylor, who's up into 2nd place. Rob Ellis is up into 3rd, and Richard Baxter has slithered down through the order into 4th position, the number 8 car. Great fight going on for 5th as well. That is Peter Brooks, who's under all sorts of pressure from Spencer Bourne, and Spencer Bourne's got the inside line at Lodge Corner this time. He's going to work his way through. Yep, the all-white car in the hands of Spencer Bourne goes through and gains the position on Peter Brooks. So job is done for Spencer, albeit he's going to have to probably just watch his mirrors as they head up towards Old Hall Corner, otherwise Peter Brooks might be able to squeeze his way back through and retake the place instantly. The order remains the same between the two of them, so job done for the moment for Spencer, who I think was the staller on the grid in race number 1 is having a much better race number 2 here. Having taken the place away from Peter Brooks, just starting to build a small advantage now is Spencer Brooks, as these two work their way out of Cascades and start to head along Lakeside. Elsewhere down through the order, here comes Peter Devlin at the wheel of the number 5 car. You just see again the car squirming around as he tried to turn the car in towards Old Hall Corner and had to have a couple of goes at it just as the tail end of the car was again just starting to break away. You can see just how tricky it is. The battle for 5th is still not fully sorted yet. I thought Peter Brooks had dropped away a shade from Spencer Ball, but it now appears the two of them have sort of caught up together again once more as they head through Britons. So 5th and 6th is certainly not sorted at this stage. All of the time whilst our race leader Kai Wheatley is pulling away from the pack behind. So over Hilltop comes this battle for 5th and 6th places, still with Spencer Bourne hanging on to the place, still with Peter Brooks hugely keen to try and wrestle the place back from the grasp of Spencer Bourne if he can, but for the moment he just needs to catch up by another 2 or 3 car lengths if he really wants to apply the pressure to the number 6 machine. Here comes our race leader, Kai Wheatley. You can see he has got a gap still between himself and James Taylor, but James Taylor is working away at it, trying to chip away and bring down the advantage. It's going to be hovering at something like 3.5 to 4 seconds, I would suggest, at this stage of the race. Here comes Rachel Brooks once more, Sky Sports pit lane reporter, having a weekend of racing in the Works Run Radical SR1. Great to see her in the championship. Big mistake for Ian MacDonald under braking for Lodge Corner. Loses the tail end of the car. Thankfully avoids making contact with anything solid other than the marker posts just on the inside of the corner. And let's hope that Ian can get the number 13 car started and rejoin the race, because he's sitting slap bang on the apex of the corner, and understandably so. Peter Devlin and Paul Pearce really easing off under the yellow flags and making sure that they get past the recovering car of Ian MacDonald, who has managed to get himself going again but has now tumbled down through the order as a result of that. Kai Wheatley in the meantime is pressing on. The gap is certainly coming down. It's not as big as it was now between 1st and 2nd place as James Taylor starts to try and mount a challenge. You can see Kai Wheatley again having to wrestle the car back under his spell. You can see just how damp the circuit is. There's no spray coming up, but you can see just how dark and greasy the tarmac looks. And you can tell that that's affecting the cars as well by the way that they are constantly moving around underneath the drivers as they're either on hard acceleration or hard braking. Here's another good little fight we've got going on as well. This is the number 15 car of Tony Barwell under pressure from Sam Moores, who's looking to try and squeeze his way up the inside at his slops. The door closed, so wasn't able to do it there. So Barwell still hangs on to the place. Sam Moores sitting directly behind as they turn their way through Knickerbrook. That's going to be a fight down towards the tail end of the field. And by the look of things, they are still busy squabbling away as they disappear out of sight. Great battle going on for 6th position as well, number 22, which is Oliver Barker from the tail end of the field, making the progress. Peter Brooks having lost the position, so Oliver Barker is coming, as he did in race number 1. It's reasonably inevitable that arguably one of the quickest drivers this weekend at Oulton Park, despite the fact that he was excluded from qualifying, had to start from the back of the grid and with 10-second penalties, he has worked superbly well to make amends for that slight oversight in qualifying, and has now really worked his way up into contention in this one. Here's another good little fight still going on as well. Tony Barwell again with Sam Moores, and this time Sam Moores has been able to squeeze his way through, then gets a little bit sideways coming out of Old Hall Corner on the greasy tarmac, applies the throttle that split second too early, but beautifully gathers up the slide in the car, and all the way down to 12th place. Look, he said towards the tail end of the field the battles were going on. Well, Paul Pearce has still not as yet shaken away Ian MacDonald, who is looking to try and recover following his spin a few laps ago. By the look of things, he's now going to gain the position because he's got the run, he's got the inside line as they head up towards Old Hall Corner, and Ian MacDonald, having had the spin, has managed to recover. Safety car coming out though, so safety car out on circuit, and well, there's, by the look of things, the lights out on the safety car, just a brief safety car period, and I think that might be because we've lost Spencer Bourne somewhere. He's just not come through. So Kai Wheatley is going to control the pace. There's no overtaking until they reach the start-finish line. Very sideways was Rob Ellis under the restart. You could see the tail end of the car almost caught him out there as he was in third place. But Kai Wheatley and a good restart from James Taylor are going to resume their battle. And by the look of things, just behind shot there, that was another place gained, I think, for car number 22, Oliver Barker, who was, I think, managed to pick the pocket possibly of Rob Ellis there. Rob Ellis, though, on the exit of the corner, did manage to hang on to it. So this is Rob Ellis, car number 12, under pressure from the driver from the tail end of the field, who won race number 1 of the weekend at Oulton Park, that being Oliver Barker. Well, can he hold off Oliver Barker is the big question. He is weaving the car off and into the tyre barriers with only minor damage, if anything, is Sam Moore's. So he's going to need the assistance of our marshals, but it is Kai Wheatley under pressure for the lead of the race from James Taylor. Rob Ellis in third place under pressure from what is Oliver Barker, as Sam Moores gets the number 23 car back into the race once more. And here comes Oliver Barker. Is he going to be able to squeeze his way up the inside under braking for Hislops? No is the answer. Number 12, Rob Ellis, hangs on to the place, albeit for the moment. The race 1 leader, though, bearing down on him, starting to ask ever more questions of Rob Ellis, who finished on the podium in the first race of the weekend. There is Richard Baxter by the look of things. So Richard Baxter's had a moment down at Hislops and has been caught out. You can see the tyre marks on the grass where he'd slid it off the track and stalled the number 8 car, so a couple of places lost there for Richard Baxter. That's going to drop him outside the top 6 now, as Kai Wheatley is at the moment just doing enough to keep the gap between himself and James Taylor in race number 2 here at Oulton Park, as they head through Deer Leap over the start-finish line and onto the last lap of the race. So Kai Wheatley leads. It is James Taylor in second place, Oliver Barker sitting there in third place. Now Rob Ellis still, you can see the tail end of his car moving around all of the time as he sits there in fourth position. And in these damp conditions, the drivers have coped superbly well. Many of them novices, many of them not having done a great deal of race meetings previously. And, well, the odd little spin is understandable in these tricky conditions, which lap after lap are changing. You can see the odd little dry patch on the circuit now, but there's still more damp patches than there are dry. And with that man there, Oliver Barker, fresh from a win in race number 1, it looks as though he is also going to feature potentially on the podium in race number 2. Both of those from the tail end of the field and with a 10-second penalty as well. So the leading pair out of Shalor's hairpin. There goes Oliver Barker as he sits there in third position. He's going to be somewhat reliant on a mistake from the pair ahead, because he's not going to catch them on pure pace on this, the final lap. And in these tricky conditions, you would be foolish to rule out a little slip-up, because just a snatch of a break or a run wide onto the grass could be the difference between winning a race and losing it. But for Kai Wheatley, it would be fantastic if he could come through and claim his first victory of the season in the Radical SR1 Cup. And now he's only a matter of just a few corners away from that, safely out of Knickerbrook, up Clay Hill, in towards what is the very daunting right-hander at Druids. Further down through the order, great fight going on between Paul Pearce and Rachel Brooks, now fighting away for, I think that's 12th and 13th position on this, the final lap of the race. But our race leader is very shortly about to take the checkered flag here at Oulton Park, because Kai Wheatley will be working his way up towards Lodge Corner now, and as long as he's neat and tidy through Lodge Corner, it is going to be a first win of the season for Kai Wheatley. He charges his way up towards Deer Leap, over the start-finish line, and takes the victory in round 4 of the 2016 Radical SR1 Cup. James Taylor through in second position. Oliver Barker finishes in third position. And well, Kai Wheatley will be very, very pleased with that indeed. Here is still one of the battles going on for 7th position. It looks as though under huge pressure is Andy Chittenden from Richard Baxter. Richard, who had that mistake down at Hislops earlier on in the race. Is he going to be able to catch Andy Chittenden on the charge to the flag? No, Chittenden comes through and just hangs on to 7th position from Richard Baxter, who is there in 8th place, and 9th goes away of Marco Nikcic with Ian McDonald inside the top 10. Let's hear from our race winner.
It was slippery out there all the way. It was getting greasy towards the second half of that race. So you couldn't really find your level at all, but it seemed that everyone was having the same problems. I thought I was going quite slow, but fortunately no one came past me, and they was obviously experiencing what I was as well. I raced SR1s last year and didn't have anything higher than a second, so to get on the top step today was really, really pleasing. I've been pushing near around the podium a few times, so to get the top spot, I'm absolutely, really, really pleased with.
It was brilliant fun, really, really good fun, really enjoyed it. I think pretty much had everything that could be thrown at me over the course of the experience. We had hail at Cadwell, we had rain pretty much everywhere we went. Rain today, started to spit as we went out for the first few laps, which I just thought, oh great, here we go again. But actually no, it was really, really good fun. Learnt lots, and lots I'll take with me into the F1 paddock as well. I think I'm going to be a lot nicer to the drivers from now on.
So following Oulton Park, James Taylor still lies ahead of Kai Wheatley in the championship by 49 points. The next round, we move on to Cadwell Park in Lincolnshire.